Hi everyone, it's Jen from Mind's Eye. We're going to go ahead and do the weekly Be It Be. It is the open discussion about the occult, the magicians, and witchcraft. So basically, it really is a little bit of like a block and a lock. And yesterday we were talking about holistic, and it had something to do with Santeria, and it had to do with that type of block. Like something was still going on with the gangs that was really locking and blocking all of our progress, including with holistic. There were so many things, and it's really not putting down any religion. It really isn't. But let me tell you, it was making everyone haywire to the point where you just couldn't even understand. So let's actually look at what needs to be said for today. It is a little bit harder, I said tonight. Here we go. There's like this victory progress forward. In 1923, victory progress forward meant that there was a crack open in like a military or a law enforcement case, a legal case that actually brought like contentment to even if it was 3 words and a button and a paperclip. And when you see it and you say, I actually understand why now, that you can't even see it coming whatsoever. So when I see the Nine of Cups here in reverse, it really was like a hard stop. And when I see cold like symptoms. And when I see this Ace of Cups, I actually mean to like the intuitive to psychic ability was so hard pressed that you couldn't see past your nose, so your intuition and your instinct, where you couldn't even complete out your day with the Wheel of Fortune. Now, when I'm saying that you couldn't even do anything throughout your day, it was odd. It was really odd. The Seven of Cups actually meant to the point of grandiose thoughts, and then it had no beginning to it. So when I see this discontented family on this like whole like run off, it actually went to like illusional, delusional to whole point of like grain that everyone all of a sudden said, this is not right. Like it's the entire town. It's like 3 to 45 people, depending on where they are, acting like this. And then when they see this, at all of a sudden, like bank statements and money trending and spending trending came through, it actually came in through like odd pairs and partnerships, even if they've never met each other. And that's where things really got harsh in the United States. The Eight of Cups really showed how bad like spilt tea and spilt milk would actually pop somebody off so bad with up to aggravated assault because they had like no patience whatsoever because it kept blocking them in their progress of paying a bill for a day, even if it was $25. So when you see this and it says all of a sudden they will run for it, those people, you actually had to pace people out, whoever they had found in the community. Never mind that they were having, excuse me, I'm actually like starting to feel it again. You can't even see the railroad to the crossroads to have this new beginning. So where does that go with the occult and the magicians and the witchcraft on this topic? It is how they lock it down in a good and a bad way, depending on the motive and the intent. That's what causes the Page of Wands to come through as energy. Really hard. Really hard. So let's look at this a little deeper. Tarot of Sacred Kingdoms. Here we go. The Four of Swords, at rest. It's something that is always during at rest when it comes forward. It's something to put at rest. It's something that you can't even enjoy or understand. So when I look at it to the highest point, you almost like you're trying to get it out of you, like you got congested again. It really has to go to show this King of Cups comes in and says there is something heinous in the community. So when we look at it and you say there's balance, there's attunement, there's contented, but when you look at them, you go, holy cow, this Queen of Wands goes, they did it well. Six of Pentacles in reverse. There's no deals on the table. No, there really isn't. And then it goes the Hermit. Isolation. So I know there was a lot all at once because the Seven of Swords energy in reverse means it's like a stick a fork in it and put it in the soil and test the pH. You go, where was this going whatsoever? Whatsoever. When someone who is doing occult magic, spell work, curses, hexes, which has been brought out here in Connecticut about knock your hexing off in the community because we're picking up on it so bad that you actually change your influx of your voice. Like, it's May 1st. We really should be off universal precautions. When you actually see it to the magicians, they're like, I cannot do anything on a track trace trail or look at it. To the witches saying, I can't even do burn magic without it smelling faulty, where you have to be alone for it. So what can you actually do with ill magic like this that is actually causing this like halt, stop? Let's look at the runes. With this, it's just causing so much more havoc. It's like this type of like ashing that will give you heartburn at night, GI distress, because it was like a born, like a birth, like a beginning that was not meant to be. So when you see Canoe, the rune, it really was actually pick up a torch, like a tiki torch, and go out and look. I'm like, that's kind of archaic. But Lagu actually means like it flows through the waters. Test the urines. I swear, when they say it's an old term of I am retaining water, I'm retaining, like I lost my waters, that you can't even understand how much of a freeze it is. So when I look at Rideau, I'll say, yeah, it really is. You can't even go about Rideau. You can't cut through it. You can't approach it. You have to go about and keep testing. And when you say, hey, Bo, all of a sudden it's like, it's like a gift. It's like a gift that keeps on coming. When you say, I was, you go, holy how it comes in really strong. You know, when someone who has ill intent maybe ingested something or has done something, when they're getting it out of their body, they literally take time. Even no matter how much I do as a magician, as like a stop and be a bay and be like away, and that is actually the command is be a bay, be away from me right now. Don't instigate the issue because it will come and stick onto you. To the witchcraft of breaking it apart, which is chemistry and physics, to inertia, they will notice that break harder instead of just leave it alone. So where do you get picky and choosy? It really means that it's ill fate. It literally means it's ill fate. When you see this and you say Hera of collecting, it's over time. It's over time. Nadis means it's a cutout of a known shore. When you see Sowol, it's solid where you can't even be. You can't even be living. So here is what actually is like happening. Like you can almost see it still in this community. It's really harsh of getting it out, whatever has been running through. Here we go. There's no getting together. It's like there's something that doesn't want reunions or visits or like travel or anything of that nature. There's like almost too much securement to the point where there's no teamwork. And then when you see it and you go, yeah, I foresaw that. And that gives a lot of unrest to the point where you say, you can't even believe how hard it is to see it. The trickery. There's no steal. There's trickery. There's no inheritance. And then you see this. There's a lot of loss. And then when you see this and you go, holy cow, you don't understand what's actually coming through and seeing through. There's like, are people acting? So that's when you would have to actually do burn magic. So here is a little bit deeper as a magician with Santeria, which is really affecting the community, especially with a certain thing with like candles. There's like something about being lit to the point where it goes to illegal substances. And then we have the issues with the gangs. And then it has to be like you literally have to be a little witchy at times to actually get the job done just to be in your house. So when you try to lock it down, you can't even do it. You can't even do a run. You can't even do anything. And you can't even see anything. And you can't even be it. But you can like literally run the entire everything. And you go, there's no coherence. There's no coherence in some of this talking in the community. Where did this come from? That's how bad it is as a magician right now. But me and a couple others, we sit here like, are we having premonitions again? Do we have to actually do this again? Like do a big protect again? Do we have to actually tap into the occult? So what is occult when you actually use Santeria? It really is green. It's green. So when you see it and you use a green candle, you can't get anything done. Nothing will come to you. Not even a grass will grow. And then when you look at it even further, you can't even do a white candle after if they picked up on you doing green candle, because then they're going to send you the Holy Ghost. They are the lockers and the blockers. They will not do anything on anyone whatsoever. And when it comes through it and comes to it, you can't even sue it whatsoever. And they say, this is heinous. This is heinous. And they're like, no, what is heinous is actually coming up to our doors and evicting us because you know better and you know best with assault weapons. That's actually what's heinous. And they didn't even know it was coming. So when we actually go to it, what was occulted? It really was something of really old rituals from, Aztec and Mayan. Whatever they had done, it came through. Heritage, culture, and a state. to down to their DNA that it was time to do something because something had happened and they had to do it. That was ancestors' instructions, just like something out of Africa, out of Eastern Europe and Asia. It's going to happen. So, how do you actually do it? You actually have to sit and you have to litigate and mitigate, and you have to know a lot of things to get the job done peacefully if you can. But most are not trained in that because we have to have a witch hunt. We have to have a witch hunt that you can't even do. You just can't even do it. So here we go. Let's actually tone it down with the Starseed Oracle. It's not political. It is more community-based that uprises. It really, like in about 5 states, the heinous was about a rat. A rat. Like, you look at the rat and you go, there was like, all of a sudden you were on perspective with a rat. And then when you looked at everything, you say, you know, all of a sudden you were not for everyone. Like you were isolated. And then all of a sudden it goes, you had to have a lot of boundaries. And then when it actually looked to it, it was devotion and potency. And then when you looked at it again, you said, yeah, look at the urine. Look at the urine. It's not time yet. Things are being woven. It's not true. And our authority, intuition, turn your gaze within. I mean, just put it in court. Some people just can't go to court. Maybe something odd happened that they can't explain. So when you look at it, it says, see the light by staying grounded. All forms of the meaning on that. This is why we're all in a disrupt about a lot of things. But we only have 3 major topics in the media. It is anti-Semitism. It is about tariffs and diplomacy. And it is about LGBTQ+. That's all we're talking about. Birth and creations and tapestry of life. It really means that like something was born really hard, really quick and really fast, and then snuffed out. It was actually seeing a lot of potential in bringing unconsciousness to light where it actually worked, and they couldn't believe how well it worked in many areas of just simple community watch and a couple people confirming in their own way of divinating and tarot runes and oracles and being psychic mediums to working a little bit of magic and how it reacts and the actual confirmations to the point of accuracy of that there was something going on. So where does this actually lead into maybe a court of law? And actually goes into being credible in law enforcement and in military. You know, people are allowed to think whatever they want to think, whether they like it or not, even in their religion. They're allowed to change their mind also. It really was like almost too fast of a journey. They weren't like sold on how quick it was like snuffed out to where it caused partnerships in multiple areas where you couldn't complete a whole cycle. It was like, halt, stop. No, wait a minute. And then it went to, we're not sitting well. We're not sitting well. And then all of a sudden it was like a little bit of alleviation of poverty. And then a lack of communication came in. I feel like somebody picked up on something and everything went counterintuitive. And then when you see this, it had no logic in it. And it caused a burden. And then when this happened, it was a happy family again. Wherever it was, just highly contented. Lesson of a struggle. But I said, it's not lesson of a struggle, like lesser, alleviated. It was a lesson, like teaching people a lesson to never do it again. Whatever they were practicing, even as religion, in their own way. So that is where these issues were coming in really harsh. And it was this like dishonorable selling of oneself, to where they go, we want this whole change of studying why COVID and bird flu came in, and how it's connected to vaccines, and how it's like this, and why our veterans are like this, and law enforcement. And yes, they are ill, and yes, there's something wrong to many of us because it's not foreseen at all. But you have to teach us a lesson. That's against the law. That's injustice. So let's put this at rest. We're actually going to just do a short video tonight because it really comes in with a lot of honor, all forms of the meaning and the spelling, when you have to have a rhetoric. It really means, it was, seeing it as a psychic, as a magician, there were people who were getting tired of others doing against policy and procedure and protocols, to where the public was down to the point of confirming in their own way on how to, with clear sound mind, proceed forward with their personal lives, down to political. And then when that happened, they were taught a lesson. It sounds like in the 60s. And then in the 70s, down to the 90s, they had to be taught a lesson to stay in their lane. And it went to the whole derogatory point of, I swear there was going to be car accidents. Nobody believed them. That is how heinous it gets when it goes to the point of vindictiveness, to being brass, where they say, I know better, I know best, I have the licensure, I have the badge, I have the full authority, and you do not, to do the investigation. It is all on how the verbiage to how it was presented, where you couldn't even do. And then all of a sudden it goes, no, it's a witch hunt. It's a witch hunt. And that's all you can do. So I have to say right now, because a lot of things are clearing, it really has to do with pacing yourself into the summer, because the winter was so harsh on a lock it down approach, because you couldn't even see it coming whatsoever. Sometimes it's okay to see those numbers come through on the news on how bad it was, but also it's okay to conserve and preserve maybe these good changes, or maybe if they're bad changes coming through, because we have enough on our plate in our home. So with that being said, that's all I have to say tonight. Any questions or concerns, leave a like, a comment, a share. It's greatly appreciated, and we'll talk to you soon.